Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is LuckyBunz, and today's Pokemon Go video, I'm going to be covering how to find good PvP IVs during community days as well as during events. So most trainers are honestly accustomed with using the search filter 3-star and 4-star to find good IVs. Now this actually works pretty well for raids and for gyms, but for PvP IVs, this doesn't really help you that much unless that Pokemon specifically falls under that 2500 CP limit at 100% IV. So before I actually dive further into the process of finding good PvP IVs, what actually makes a good PvP IV in a general standpoint? So from a general standpoint for good PvP IVs, you're going to want to have low attack and then high defense and high stamina. Now of course, before we dive into everything specific in this video, if you guys do end up finding it helpful and informative, I would really appreciate it if you could hit that like button down below. It would help me out a ton with the YouTube algorithm. So there are two main things that I want to cover in this video, specifically searching for good IVs during a hectic day like community day, and then also searching for good IVs during events, right? Because both of these are going to function a little bit differently. Now for those of you that are unaware, PvPoke is actually a great website to use to figure out what's going to be meta in Great League, Ultra League, Master League, etc. So let's take a look at the rankings here for Great League specifically. So you guys can see on screen right now, these are going to be the top Pokemon for Great League. There's a lot, and specifically, well, it's kind of hard to figure out what's going to be good ahead of time. But let's say, for example, we caught a Snubbull, right? So let's go ahead and type in Granbull here. And we can see that Shadow Granbull is going to rank 90, regular Granbull is going to rank 187. And I believe I actually do have a pretty good Shadow Snubbull that I've been saving. I think it's this one. Yeah, that one has some pretty good IVs. Low attack, high defense, and high HP. So that's pretty good. We can use Ghost Stadium to figure out how good it actually is. But essentially, if I wanted to find out if Granbull was going to be relevant in Great League, this is how I would do it. And specifically, if we go into Ultra League and type in Granbull, we can see that it's ranked even better. So anything within the top 100 to 200, I would say it's pretty solid in terms of finding out if it's like meta relevant. So I just wanted to cover that real quick because you're gonna honestly run into a ton of really good IV spreads when you're just playing regularly, but you may not realize if they're gonna be good for PvP or not. You may end up hoarding a ton of potentially good Pokemon, but well, they're not meta relevant, so is it really worth holding on to them? Most of the time it's not. Anyways though, let's go to move back on over to the calm day aspect of this. So the first thing that you guys want to do in terms of preparing for the community day is you want to figure out what the ideal IV spreads are for Great League, Ultra League, and Master League. And we're going to go ahead and use Altaria as an example here. So Altaria for Great League is going to have an ideal spread of 0, 14, 15 for Great League. Then for Ultra League, we're going to see that it has an ideal spread of 15, 15, 15. Basically, the hundo is going to be what you want. Now, this isn't always going to be the case for most Pokemon in Ultra League, but it just happened to work out this way because Altaria's CP falls below 2500. So of course in Master League it's not going to be relevant whatsoever. So as we previously mentioned, in terms of what makes a really good PvP IV in a general standpoint, 0, 15, 15 is kind of the go-to. The lowest attack, highest defense, and highest HP. Now, some of you may be wondering why this is the case for PvP, right? So let's say, for example, you're going into PvP and you think, oh my god, I got 100% IV Altaria, I'm gonna do so good in Great League. That's not actually the case, and we're gonna go over that difference right now. So you guys can see that the rank 1 is gonna be level 29, 1497 CP, and again, the CP is kind of irrelevant here, it just needs to fall below 1500, that's not gonna make a difference in terms of your performance. But let's take a look at the IV spreads. 0, 14, 15, the attack 101.44, the defense 154.67, and the stamina or HP is going to be 141 compared to a 100% IV Altaria in the Great League, level 26, 106, so the attack is going to be better. Defense is going to be lower though, 147, so it's not going to be able to tank as well, and the stamina is going to be 8 points lower than what the rank 1 would be. So the reason why it works this way is based on the CP formula. So the CP formula calculates attack and it makes the CP go a lot higher. So basically if you have a lower IV for attack, it means that you're going to be able to hit a higher level. And even though the attack is going to be a little bit better on that hundo, it's not going to compare to the fact that you lose out on 8 hit points and a little bit on defense as well. So those factors make a massive difference in terms of where your IVs are going to play a part for PvP. So does that mean that you're going to absolutely need a rank 1 for PvP? No, not necessarily. It just means that if you're going to be focusing on PvP IVs, you're going to want to have low attack generally. And so what I'm really trying to drill home right now in terms of how to prepare for the comm days, or at least like step 1 of preparing for the comm days, is take a look at these IV spreads. Take a look at all of these IV spreads, and let me actually go to a bigger screen right now. So pretty much in short, what I want you guys to do is I want you to keep this as a reference in the back of your mind as you're going to go through comm day, just so you know what to look out for. With that being said though, let's move on over to step 2, and I'm going to put a real big emphasis on this right now. Do not IV check after every single catch. Do not do this. Ideally, what you want to be doing, and going into comm day, you should have at minimum 100 open Pokemon storage slots. Ideally, you want to have at least 250 plus. If you guys are having trouble with hoarding, I actually do have a really good storage management guide, which I'm going to link in the top right corner right now, just in case, because I know some people really do struggle with hoarding in Pokemon Go, or maybe you're a newer player and you don't actually have access to that much Pokemon storage. How are you supposed to manage? I got some excellent videos, guys. I definitely recommend checking them out. But for the sake of this video, let's assume that you're not struggling with Pokemon storage management. So basically, once you've hit your Pokemon storage limit, or you're getting really close to hitting it, at this point, then I would go through an IV check. So referencing back to what we were paying attention to on Go Stadium, go ahead and scroll through, and if you see anything that stands out, low attack, high defense, and high stamina, go ahead and favorite it and then come back to it later. Do this with every single Pokemon that you think is going to potentially be good for PvP. So basically, you've already gone through and you've checked for really good PvP IVs, you've checked for hundos, you've checked for anything that might be really good as a 3-star, you've marked everything. Now it's time to transfer everything that's going to be pretty much non-relevant. So at the end of comm days, you have 2 additional hours to evolve a Pokemon to get the exclusive moveset. This means that you have more than enough time to go through and figure out which one is going to be the best IV spread that you want to ultimately power up in the future. So we're going to head back on over to Go Stadium right now, and we're going to IV check everything that we thought was going to be meta relevant. So this works pretty well if you have a second device and you're already outside, or if you just decided to go home and you can check it on your computer. I personally like to just go through and use my computer, because if I'm using my device that I play Pokemon Go on, it is really tedious to go back and forth between the Pokemon Go app and then the website. So having a second device or having your computer really just help out a lot. So this part is pretty straightforward. Just go through and type in the IV spread that you have. For example, if you had something that was like 1, 10, and then 7, for example, you can go ahead and run the stats. It's going to rank at 427, so go ahead and type that in on your Pokemon. Let's just use Caterpie as an example here, so let's type in rank, or let's just type in R427. Boom, you're done with that. To move on to the next Pokemon, the Snubbull, or let's say the Spiel. Actually, I think the Spiel is pretty good for IVs. It's definitely not bad. Let's go ahead and type in 4, 14, 13. That one's going to be rank 699. We'll go ahead and mark it like that, and rinse and repeat. So maybe one of these ideal IV spreads would have been fantastic, but you just got to deal with the cards that you were given. Unfortunately, you have no control over which IV spreads you're going to encounter that day. You just take what you can get, unless you're using scanners or something like that, which is a completely different scenario, but I'm assuming that most of you watching this probably aren't using scanners, because if you were, then you would already know what was going to be the best IVs from the very beginning. Once again, this is the way that I like to go through things. It's a lot more exciting, there's a thrill to the hunt, and I personally just enjoy it. So with that being said though, you have to make the decision which one is ultimately going to be your best investment. If you take a look at Go Stadium, you can honestly look through the numbers, figure out which one's going to have the best HP, the best attack, does it hit any breakpoints, what level is that Pokemon going to be? For example, the rank 1 is going to be level 29, the rank 9 would have been level 29.5, so there are some benefits to that, and you kind of have to weigh out the pros and cons. At the end of the day though, deciding between a rank 1 and a rank 9 isn't going to be the biggest deal in the world. Sure, one of them might be slightly better, but compared to, like, for example, which would be a hundo, I think it was like rank 2000, right? Compared to a rank 2419, yeah, I think a rank 1 or a rank 9, whichever you decide to go with, is going to be significantly better. And the same can be said if you end up getting like an IV spread, let's say 8, 15, 15, right? That one's going to be a rank 1441. So still, despite it having the best HP and the best defense, the fact that it has such a high attack stat is going to hurt it in the long run. It only gets to level 27, it only hits 136 hit points, and the defense is definitely not where it could have been, because it doesn't hit level 29. Biggest factor, guys. Does it actually get close to the level that it's supposed to be at for rank 1? Does it even get higher than that? There's so many options that you could potentially go through, and I can't really go over which one is ultimately going to be the best. You guys have to make the decision on your own, but using this as a resource is going to help you out a ton. And then finally, the last thing that I want to go over right now is be conservative with your Stardust. Don't actually power up your investments until you figure out how you're going to use it. So there isn't really a reason to do it immediately unless you already know the line that you're going to be using for Great League with that Pokemon specifically. And I'm going to show you guys right now an example of this. So I have a ton of Pokemon here that are potentially going to be great for PvP, but it doesn't mean that I want to power them up just yet. For example, the Superior, I have it ready, I could totally use it, but I have no idea what I'm going to run it with. So it doesn't make sense for me to power it up just yet. In the future, definitely, I could probably use this Pokemon and I will invest into it, but do you want to use your Stardust? Do you want to use that resource that is so difficult to get in-game? You might end up wanting to use it on something else that you end up catching later down the line, and well, if you spend it all on Calm Day, you're not going to be able to do that. For example, you may end up getting like a really good Shadow Politoed that you want to use for Great League, but you already spent your Stardust on Altaria. If you have a lineup that's going to work better with Politoed, you're going to really regret using your Stardust on Altaria. Again, this is very situational. My point here is just be conservative with your Stardust. Don't power up everything just because it has really good IVs. I would save it for later, save it for when you're actually going to use it, and the same goes for raids and for gyms. Don't power up Pokemon that you're not going to use in that moment. Wait until you're actually going to use that Pokemon before investing Stardust into it if you haven't already. With that being said though, just a real quick showcase of my Great League and Ultra League Pokemon before we end off this video. I know some of you guys have been really curious in terms of what I personally am working with, and again guys, I go through all this stuff naturally. I take the time to go through Ghost Stadium, and so many of you always ask the question, you know, like how do you determine the rank of the Pokemon? Why does it say rank this? Why does it say rank that? And well, yeah, this is basically it, guys. You can see here, this is all my Pokemon for Great League. This Pokemon became a little bit less meta relevant in terms of the ranking for IVs that I have here, just because we got extra large Pokemon introduced into the game. So now, of course, the extra large version of Azumarill is going to be far better. And again, some of these other Pokemon definitely do fall into that category, but for the most part, I've really tried to, you know, follow the principle of investing in low attack, high defense, high HP. It really does take a lot of time to kind of find the best IV spreads or just really good IV spreads for PvP in this game. You know, going through some of my Pokemon here, you guys can see that the IV spreads are good for most of them, but for some of them, they could be better. So again, just, you know, a quick showcase of a lot of my Pokemon here. I've been working on building a ton of Great League Pokemon. Like, we're at 27 right now that are pretty viable. For Ultra League, it's a little bit tougher. This Obstagoon is one that I recently did invest in, and it does help a lot, especially with the extra large meta in Pokemon Go Battle League right now. I feel like some of these Pokemon have definitely gotten outclassed. For example, the line that I actually used to get to Season 6 Legend, Kingdra, Scizor, and Gengar. This line does not work at all in the current meta for Season 7 of Go Battle League and Ultra League Premier Cup, and that's just because there are so many extra large Pokemon in-game right now. It's really just a pain in the butt. At the end of the day though, it is what it is, and you kind of just have to take the good with the bad. Overall, you know, I definitely feel like Season 7 was a lot of practice for me in Go Battle League, and I'm looking forward to Season 8. I will try to push for Legend this time around. I've invested into a ton of Pokemon like I mentioned earlier. So the big win for me in Season 7 is really just gathering the resources to invest in more Great League Pokemon moving into Season 8. Anyways though, I feel like this video has dragged out long enough. I can barely talk properly at this point. I've been going for like 50 minutes, so if you guys did end up enjoying it, please make sure to hit that like button down below. Subscribe if you want to see more of these videos in the future, and I will see you all real soon in the next one.